medal that his dad gave him, tucked away in his duffel bag. He said, don't worry about a thing, Pops. You'll be getting this when I get back. Walking down the road through the city on a routine patrol. Shots ring out and he hits the ground. Sergeant yells, man down. And this is for the ones who ain't coming back. Fought for the country in Iraq, and they left their families at home. Come over here and die alone. Carried his coffin onto the plane, gave a salute as they read off his name. We packed away that duffel bag and the silver star that he got from his dad. There was one old man when we got off the plane, no one there for him to greet. The whole damn company shook his hand. Brothers see the sun he will never see. And this is for the ones who ain't coming back. They fought for the country in Iraq, and they left their families at home. Come over here and die alone. And this is for the ones who ain't coming back. Fought for the country in Iraq, and they left their families at home. Come over here and die alone.
Welcome to the Dire Wolf Show, where we believe that America is exceptional and that our constitutional rights should never be infringed. I am Dire Wolf. On our show, we bring you the truth and debunk fake news. If you love laughing at the insanity of the regressive left, sit back and relax. Boy, do I have a show for you. Welcome back, Wolfpack. Dire Wolf here for our weekly news recap behind enemy lines on YouTube, where speech is not free and the truth is demonetized. But we would very much appreciate if you would come and join us on DLive, where we are likely to survive, and YouTube we're not going to likely survive there very long.
We'd also appreciate if you monetized us by donating on Streamlabs.
that would be great too. Speaking of monetization, we'd like to thank all the people who make this show possible by donating to us financially through the bits, through the Lino, or through the Streamlabs donations. However you choose to support us, we very much appreciate it. And here are a few of people who have supported us recently: Ori Main, Nathan, Cameron, Tetris Freak, Slowpoke, Kaylette, Lone Fury, Thundra Erikin, who is female, Strong Arm, Hellraiser Zalon, White Lion, and of course a special thank you to Timberwolf, not only for your donations, but also for boosting us on Discord and supporting us there. If you don't support us financially, that is fine. We very much appreciate those who just like the videos, watch the videos, and most importantly, share the videos. The algorithm on YouTube is definitely doing their best they can to not share us. One of the easiest things you can do, a little bit of effort on your part, that will have the biggest impact is sharing the video. We very much would appreciate that.
Yep. Awesome.
Hey there, Shaman King. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, Shaman King's been gone for a long time.
Yeah. Anyways, we have quite a show for you. So let's get into the first story.
Alrighty. It's lots of fun today. Let's see here. Oh, gross. Ugh.
Why?
Oh God, I'm sorry. Got it. Yeah, imagine
Put it back.
So
put it back in the box.
I know. So you're seeing. All right. So for everybody else out there in the stream, it's not Dyer and I. We do this for you guys sometimes. But AOC, our next story is about AOC and her declaring war on the Democratic Party. But I just want you guys to know, Dyer is seeing like a very small version of this I'm screen sharing to him. You guys are seeing it like on your stream. I got this thing on a 32-inch monitor just staring at me. Her eyes are the size of quarters. I don't know if I could read the story or not.
I had Skype at full size, so yeah, pretty big.
Like, this is a cursed image if there ever was one. Alrighty. Well, into the storyline. Let's see here. AOC declares war on the Democrat Party. This week in the news, we heard from many outlets that Democrats were angry that AOC wouldn't donate to the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee, which is severely in debt right now. AOC's campaign...
Be gone from me, you soy boy beta cock. The transaction is complete.
All right, thank you very much, Kaylette. Sup, bitches. Let's finally put the final nail in the YouTube coffin. And then something with a lot of stars on it.
Thank you very much for the $15,
Kaylette. We much appreciate that. I really means a lot to us when you guys do that. You guys are our only source of support, and we much appreciate it anytime you feel so generous as to dump your hard-earned dollary dues onto us. AOC's campaign has raised $3.3 million last year, which is way above the average for a state district race and way above the average for anybody living in a socialist country. Her fellow Democrats say that she should use her chart-topping funds to help get the other Democratic candidates elected, almost as if they are suggesting that the money that she hard-earned herself should be shared with those less fortunate.
She promised a bunch of people free stuff. Let's not call that hard-earned.
Hard-earned asterisks.
There we go. All right. So the Democrat House Campaign Organization's its sole purpose is to collect money from well-funded Democrats to give that money to help get other Democrats elected. However, or, shaft them in the case of Bernie. However, AOC refused to donate a cent of her millions to the DCCC. This clearly pissed off all Democrats that aren't in her squad. The Democrat rep Gregory Meeks, also of New York, publicly called out AOC for not being a team player. Also, an unnamed Democrat, according to Fox News, another unattributed source. Not sure I can believe these, but according to this unattributed source from Fox News, who says they're a Democrat, said that she is Dead Pete Cortez should pay her bills.
I love this story. This is so great. So she's not sharing which is very anti-socialist. She's not sharing. She's not sharing with her like less fortunate comrades. And then you've got the other Democrats who are also pretty socialist, not really like a socialist as she is, but like they're pretty collectivist, spreading the wealth around, and they're calling her a deadbeat. Because she's not contributing to the fund.
Okay, so she's supports Sanders, right?
Yeah.
She's repping for Sanders right now, and Sanders also a deadbeat. He never held a legitimate job other than Congress. Yeah. His entire life, his only income's been from people just donating it to him, and he doesn't donate to other people. He doesn't donate to charities. Compared to Trump, he donates
tiny bits of money compared to what Trump does. So he's not really living up to his own ideals. Neither is AOC.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's living up to socialist ideals. Bernie has, like you said, he's never held a private job. He started out as his very first ever job after living on his parents' couch and then couch surfing with his socialist friends and then getting kicked out of a commune. His first job was a mayor. God, I should research that because God knows what town was dumb enough to elect him mayor. I mean, he must have been like
New York elected AOC, so
yeah. Well, maybe it was like one of those like towns where it's just like a couple of people. I don't know, but yeah. Then from being a mayor, which is a public service job, like he went on to like do other stuff all the way up to Congress, and he now has 3 multi-million-dollar mansions. I mean, that is the socialist dream. That's not the American dream. That's the socialist dream. Bernie is living out his credo of wanting to be a socialist. It's just not what he's selling to the rest of us. Anyway, so
thank you for the diamond, Kaylet. Very much.
Oh yes, I missed that. Thank you. Here's like 5 cents. Enjoy it. we will. Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC or DIC, chairwoman Cherry Bustos downplayed AOC's decision, saying that it's always up to the individual whether or not to contribute. Unless you're under a socialist regime. Of course, she's not going to want to trash talk any Democrats that refuse to donate to the organization. It wouldn't be able to actually get them to donate, and all it would do would be result in other candidates that support AOC also not donating in protest.
Yeah.
I had this dark image of if she lived in a actual communist country like China and decided that she wasn't going to contribute to the party. I wonder what would happen to her.
It probably wouldn't be good.
It would not be good.
So AOC's refusal to donate to the Democrat Party shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. AOC has been at war with the Democrats since she started her campaign. She started her political career by primarying an establishment Democrat incumbent. Her very first action was to attack the establishment. AOC went on to regularly criticize fellow Democrats, voted against them on bills, and she and her squad regularly embarrassed Democrats by advocating publicly for socialist and anti-Semitic policies. Not to mention, they forced the Democrats into the whole impeachment debacle.
When AOC ran for office, she wasn't funded by the Democrat Campaign Committee. She was funded by a progressive socialist organization called Justice Democrats, which I believe was started by one Cenk Uygur. Chunky Yogurt. AOC's boyfriend even works for the Justice Democrats organization, which, as you may remember, resulted in AOC being investigated for campaign finance violations, which, as you may also remember, is just one of her investigations for campaign finance violations. The Justice Democrats founding charter was to replace the, quote, do-nothing Democrats with far-left progressive candidates. In short, this organization was founded to take power from the establishment Democrats, which I don't know if they're taking power or not, but they are certainly doing something. It's caused. I don't necessarily think it's taken power from the establishment Democrats, but it's made the establishment Democrats use the power that they do have in insane ways, trying to get these progressives off of them. I mean, it's like they're being attacked by ants, and all they have is like 50 cal sniper rifles to like go after them. That's what it looks like right now.
So there's 430 members of the House, and of that, Congress, like Democrats have like I think 220 some odd, maybe 223. I can't remember the exact number, but the majority, slightly, right? Yeah. And I believe the Justice Democrats got in no more than 7 individuals in the last campaign cycle. So wresting power from the Democrats, not so much, unless you're talking about they primaried Democrats who had no challenger and were very weak, vulnerable candidates, right? That said, while they've been in, what they've managed to do, their damage wasn't that they got elected. The damage was they pushed the party so far to the left, and they advocated extreme policies, which the extreme policies are what got the news cycle, right? Is they embarrassed the Democrat Party and forced them to the left. That's the damage they've done, not them getting elected.
Yeah. They very much poisoned the well. So yeah, it doesn't take an army to raise a village, but you can have one guy poison the well.
Yes,
and it's going to take everybody out, and that's what they're
doing.
Thank
you very much, Kay Gandy, for the follow.
Oh, thank you.
So when people think of the Democrat Party now, they see AOC as one of the heads of the party, leading the.
Welcome to
like,
the Dire
it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But when they're thinking of what am I voting for when I vote Democrat? They're thinking of the things she said as representing the Democrats, and she says some pretty dumb stuff. So AOC has publicly threatened establishment Democrats like Nancy Pelosi that she would help get them primaried, just like she primaried a establishment candidate herself, and if they didn't fall in line with her insane agenda. The Democrats, in turn, have threatened to primary AOC and the rest of the squad. The
How
DCCC,
dare they?
I know, right? How dare they? How dare you use the same tactic we used against us? How dare you? Harumph, I say. The DCCC is currently supporting the so-called moderate Democrat Fernando Cabrera, who filed to run against AOC in her district. Mr. Cabrera is only one of 3 Democrats that are running against AOC. Even if AOC doesn't lose to one of her Democrat establishment challengers, the Dems have also said that they were going to remove her district entirely. They're considering doing that. Due to the changes in population, New York is going to be losing one of their House seats in the next election cycle. The lost seat will be AOC's seat if she remains in power.
R.I.P. She also, I believe she also has as many as 8 Republicans running against her.
Yes, 8 of yep.
It's a lot. We'll
It's
see
funny because this is traditionally a seat that no Republican ever would run for, because no Republican will win.
Well,
right?
AOC, she lifted the veil, and everybody realized, while it may be a very solidly blue district, the voters are totally asleep at the wheel. Anybody could just grab onto that wheel, and you've got the power. So AOC was asked about why she wouldn't be donating to the DCCC, or DIC. She said it was because the organization is funding campaigns to defeat progressive candidates like herself, and also advocating for the removal of her district. I wonder why she's not giving it money. AOC isn't very smart, but she can see that it would be much stupider than her to vote, much stupider than her for her to vote, for her to fund her competition. It's not that AOC isn't being a team player or a good comrade. It's that AOC is not even on the same team as the other Democrats. AOC is actually running ads against those Democrats and has repeatedly told her supporters not to donate to the DCCC because they would be funding her opposition.
So really, I don't think any Democrats or Republicans should be surprised that AOC is fighting the Democrats, because she never was a Democrat. She's a socialist, and I don't think that the majority of Democrats, the voters that call themselves Democrat, are actually socialists. That's why so many are leaving the Democrat Party in droves looking for anyone else to vote for, because they don't want to vote for the socialists in the Democrat Party.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't. It's really funny. It's like watching. I'll bring up ants again. I already brought up that. I'll just watch them build little ant tunnels or whatever. I don't understand New York politics. It's just so outside of my frame of reference. I'm just watching them eat each other and try and build these elaborate tunnels and go to war with each other. It's very interesting to watch, but I'm not sure what's going on in their heads.
Yep. So, what's our next story?
Alrighty. Next story. Oh, boy. Okay. So, Epstein. All right.
What did he do this time?
Well, it wasn't Epstein. It was actually Epstein's evidence. The evidence that Epstein did not kill himself seems to have deleted itself. So the Epstein evidence didn't delete itself, is what we are proposing. Not a not a single person believes that Epstein killed himself, especially not Epstein. Even the mainstream media has started to acknowledge, and they're not really people, so I mean, it doesn't really matter what they think. But even they have started to acknowledge that Epstein's
An algorithm.
Yes, that Epstein's injuries don't fit the suicide narrative. It is far too suspicious that the cameras in Epstein's cell were turned off during the day that he died. It's hard to believe that both the guards in the prison sitting right next to Epstein's cell were able to sleep through his entire suicide. It is practically impossible for for Epstein to break his own neck bones in the way the prison and the initial coroner, proposed that he had killed himself. Not a single prisoner who has killed themselves in the prison managed to sustain the kinds of injuries Epstein's sustained to his neck, which a highly respected coroner, a different one, said looked like they were caused by someone choking him from behind with a wire.
Speaking of wire, oddly enough, the same coroner that said that it looked like he'd been choked with a wire noted that it was suspicious that there was cords and wires in his cell, but they didn't appear to have been used for the hanging. Instead, there was a noose made of thin sheets that had been placed there as if it had been used, but it also did not look like it had been used because there was no blood on the noose. However, there was blood on his neck. So why does he have wire-like injuries, but none of the wires that were in his room were used? Why does he have why they say he has a noose was used, but none of the blood was there? Also, why, like a week after he tries supposedly killing himself, is he put into a jail cell with wires that can be used to make nooses? And why, if you're trying to kill yourself, would you think to use the sheet before you think to use the wire? Just questions, all right? There's a lot of suspicious conditions around Epstein's death. Like how one of the guards on duty wasn't actually a guard at the prison.
That just doesn't make any logical sense. There is also the very strange situation that around Epstein's first attempted suicide a week before he died, the prison's official story was that Epstein's cellmate, quote, found, just happened upon Epstein not breathing.
How do you find someone sitting 3 feet from you in the same cell that you share together? Wouldn't you see them the entire time?
Well,
right?
Maybe he closed his eyes while he was suiciding.
Yeah, like we're both in the same tiny room together, and I guess he turned his back for the 30 minutes it took for him to choke himself to death. Oh, I turn around. Well, how did this happen?
I remember seeing pictures of his cellmate back then. That was a big guy. I mean, he could very easily put one hand over his face and not see anything, and put the other arm around Epstein.
That's probably what he did. Yeah, I buy that.
Goat Ripper,
nice.
or Roper. There we go. Goat Roper just followed us, and we thank you very much for that. We get a lot of followers. Appreciate it.
Yes,
right.
very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think you should share that picture because this is the cellmate he had.
Yes.
So how do you not notice them trying to hang themselves when they're like 3 feet from you? I'm sure there's a lot of noise and like jerking around and stuff that is involuntary. You can't hang yourself quietly necessarily. The guard?
Do you think it was one of those things where he was choking Epstein out and he was like, "What's that? I can't hear you." And Epstein's just like,
yeah.
Like, I can't hear you.
How did the guards not see this happening? The guards regularly check the cells. There was a video camera and video footage of the cell, and the guard's desk is like right next to that cell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we got up on the screen. That's a picture of Epstein's cellmate. Now Epstein's he's an
dog,
older
right?
gentleman, huh?
It's the dog, right?
Yes, it's the dog. Epstein's an older gentleman, so I think that this guy could have he could have very easily put his hand over his face and not seen anything while using his other arm to suicide someone.
Right. You're up.
Oh, am I? Is it this part?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, there was. There was actually a security camera video of Epstein's cell during this, quote, suicide. However, according to the FBI, who are currently investigating Epstein's cellmate, apparently the jail accidentally, it's just oh man, just oops, oh boy, oh geez, they accidentally recorded over the saved video of the incident with video from the exact same time and location, but on a different floor.
Suspicious.
I think that the evidence deleted itself. That the security camera
delete itself.
The security camera was found hanging by its own wires.
Okay, so it'd be bad but believable that someone might delete the file by accident, even though it would have been, since part of an investigation, people would have secured it and kept it safe, right?
Yeah.
You'd think active investigation, securing and protecting of evidence, but it's even more suspicious that it was replaced with an exact same cell, exact same timestamp.
Well, and
different
are they expecting us to believe that like they're using VHS tapes still? Because even if they were, you can still forensically pull the previous recording off of a VHS tape, even if you recorded over it. There's forensic techniques for that. But if they weren't, then these were on hard drives and
covered.
What's that?
That could be recovered.
Yes, that could very easily be recovered. Like there's not a medium on this planet that you can record security footage to that if you quote record over it, it can't be at least partially recovered. I mean, we have really detailed computing forensic techniques these days. I mean, I don't just like, oh, it's gone. But just nobody knows where it went. We'll just move along. Nothing to see here.
Right.
The camera even had marks on its neck that did not match the noose that was sitting next to it.
Oh, all right. For you to believe the official story that Epstein killed himself and that the footage deleted itself, you have to believe that everyone working at the jail is criminally negligent at this point. And you have to believe that Epstein is able to do something that no one else has ever been able to do with the same materials at the same jail. Right? A lot of people have killed themselves at the same jail. None of them were able to do it with those materials in the same way. The simplest solution is that he didn't kill himself.
Dar, we just in. We have breaking news right now. An unnamed source has said that somebody told them that somebody else saw that they overheard someone talking about seeing Hillary Clinton walking out the back door of that jail with a cloth.
Is that 6 or 7 times removed?
I don't know, but it sounds accurate to me. I mean, Hillary could have been in there, wiping those servers with a cloth.
Well, based on our current precedent set by Congress, that means she's guilty.
Yes.
And no amount of evidence that might come out, no matter how indisputed and no matter how clear the evidence is, it will not change the fact that she's
Call it a
guilty.
whistleblower, if you will.
Yes, you have a reliable report from whistleblower.
Yes. All right. So also, if this video was saved initially like they claimed, why don't we have a description of what happened when the video coverage was first reviewed after a supposed suicide attempt? Are we supposed to just believe that they knew that this video might be important someday, so they planned on saving it? They happened to save the wrong one, but nobody watched it. That nobody was even the tiniest bit curious as to what the camera pointing at Epstein's cell during the time. Nobody was curious at all what was on that footage. There wasn't. You're telling me that there wasn't somebody watching that and being like, oh my God, pulling in every single FBI person in the area, like, come here, you got to watch this video. That you're never going to believe what's on this video. You're telling me that didn't happen, that there was just no curiosity whatsoever. Nobody's...
Particularly after he says that his roommate, or his cellmate rather, tried killing him. And that's why that cellmate was removed, because he said that the cellmate tried to kill him and was found over him when he wasn't breathing by the guards. Maybe if you have an accusation of such a violent crime, you'd go review the footage. Maybe.
And it's I don't know. Not that I'm saying it's okay morally. Well, maybe not even that. But I could very easily imagine a situation where the guards came in and you guys saw the picture of his cellmate. He's like, I don't know what happened to him, officer. I just found him like this. And the officers were like, yeah, we know what you did, but like, we're not going to say anything because we really don't care because this guy's a scumbag. I can imagine that scenario, but I don't know. It doesn't. The FBI needs to be knocking some heads on this.
Oh, jeez. So James Comey's daughter named as Jeffrey Epstein's prosecution team.
For what?
Really? She is part of Jeffrey Epstein's prosecution team. Is a article from July of last year.
What?
That's funny coincidence. I would like to read that story more later.
There's there's just nobody. There's like 70 people who run the entire government, and they all just have like 80 job titles, and they just like they're all just they just pop up in different areas all the time. It's just why is it the same names all the time? Every time it's just something weird happens. Oh, I recognize that name from like 80 other stories this month.
Yeah, I don't know why that story is relevant. I just thought it's funny that Comey is somehow in any way related to this case.
Jesus.
Anyways, let's talk about that cellmate. That Epstein said tried to kill him, and that Epstein said he didn't want to die. His cellmate was Nicholas. Tartagalone. Wow, can you say that name right here?
Where is it?
Right here.
Tartagalone.
Italian. So Nicholas.
Think about
Italian,
it.
he was a dirty cop and a mass murderer. He was running.
He was a dog lover, which gives him a little bit of points. That gives him a few points.
That is a full reprieve for all the murders he did.
Moving on.
So he's definitely a stand-up guy. So he was also a dirty cop, and he was running a drug trafficking organization. Great guy. He eventually got caught after he killed 4 of the men he was working with, cleaned up the crime scene, and disposed of the bodies. Are we supposed to trust this guy was trying to help Epstein when he was found standing over him? I don't.
But he's a cop.
But he was a cop.
He's a cop.
The reason why he's in jail, though.
Did you get that impression at the time, like when this story originally came out, that the media was kind of implying that because he was a cop, like he was going to be protecting Epstein, or like he was a trustworthy source? I kind of got that impression originally.
So the article I was reading definitely made it sound that way to me, but I just had the inkling of, okay, I have no idea who this person is. There's no picture of him. So I just Googled him and found the same former police officer from this place. So it was the same guy, and found out what he'd done. Like, holy shit, they seem like you might want to include this in the story. Why was he in the same jail cell as Epstein? They're not the same kind of crime, right? Yeah,
and normally, well, I don't know, because it's different when you get up to the federal level, but not much. But there's normally some attempt to segregate out the well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would call what Epstein did a pretty violent crime. I don't know. Maybe, I revise what I'm saying, maybe.
Well, so Epstein is not just his crime is less violent because he's not being accused of having done the rape himself. He's accused of facilitating it. Yeah. But regardless, he's also a highly
valuable
in that he's notable. Right? There's a lot of people watching this case, a lot of people who would be affected by the results of this case. So there's a lot of motive to protect him.
Well, yeah, he's a kingpin, essentially. Right. He's the equivalent of a kingpin.
You wouldn't put a mob boss with someone who has a record of just killing people.
Especially when your goal is to use that person to get to dozens, maybe hundreds of other people, as you would with some kind of, mob boss or like somebody really high up for like a drug lord type of a thing. I mean, you wouldn't just, we'll just roll the dice with whether or not he lives.
Right. Plus, if I were trying to think of in my head what a contract killer would look like, this is what I would think of.
A dog lover.
Yes, dog lover. All dog lovers are contract killers. Didn't you know?
Tyre loves dogs.
I have 6 dogs.
Oh, God. Moving on. The question is no longer, did Epstein kill himself? It's how long before the media establishment are forced to recognize that this is not a conspiracy theory. It's just a conspiracy for which there's lots of evidence. It's a theory in the sense that gravity is a theory. We don't really know how it works, but we got a lot of evidence that it happened.
Right.
Once we got past the lie that, quote, nothing suspicious happened here, we can do a real investigation. Once we realize that Epstein was murdered and that the evidence of that murder did not delete itself, that opens one of the uncomfortable questions of that opens of the uncomfortable question of who was leading the conspiracy theory. That was the question. Who's leading this thing? And I don't think that is a question that the elites want the answer to. And that would be including all of the mainstream media. They definitely don't want that.
Right. But yeah, I think it's it's not case closed because obviously evidence is being not looked at.
And also killing itself.
And killing itself.
Yes.
But this is definitely worthy of a real investigation. It's not being treated like it needs to be investigated correctly. It's being glossed over as being a conspiracy theory. And because they're trying to hide it like that, they're not giving it a serious investigation.
Well, and so there's when you're doing a criminal investigation, which this was, I mean, it was the investigation into what happened, like why was Epstein dead? Like there was every reason for that to be a criminal investigation, and it's always a criminal investigation until you've proven that it's suicide. And they tried to hurry that process along to get it out of that criminal range and try and say it was a suicide, and they almost did it, but not quite. And then it got reopened as an investigation as a murder, as a crime. They needed to rule that out. When you're investigating a crime and you're pulling evidence, that evidence has chains of custody. You need to know where you got that evidence from. You need to know who originally collected that evidence. And then you need to have a trail, a chain of custody, which is usually like physically signed documents that physically follow that evidence around. And that way, as you're going through the case, as you're going through the investigation, that this evidence is good evidence, that it wasn't tampered with. Because there's in any criminal investigation, there's always the possibility that somebody is going to be trying to cover that up, and they're going to try and do that by tampering with the evidence. So this video footage and some of the other evidence that we've had getting deleted or disappearing or something weird happening with it, getting lost, those should have had a chain of custody, and there was either a decision not to put them into a chain of custody, or there is a chain of custody out there somewhere, and we have a list of people that are supposed to have been able to, that were having access to these things before they disappeared. And I think that, to the extent that this needs to be taken seriously, and it should be, it's a criminal investigation. Every criminal investigation should be taken seriously. It's a additional crime to cover up or destroy that evidence. And if they have those chains of custodies, especially on this video footage, I think that anybody on that chain of custody should be taken into custody, as the charge being we're charging you with the conspiracy to cover up this crime. This evidence disappeared. You guys are in the chain of custody. That's the best leads we've got right now. If you guys would like to point us in a direction, maybe we won't have to keep you in custody. But I think that would be actually taking this seriously, is look at those custody logs, put those people in custody, and move on from there. But it can't just be like, oh, because right now what I think they want to happen is just like, oh man, like this kind of stuff just happens. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. But we got other cases to get to. We better move along here. We don't want to spend too much time on this. It's just one of those things. You can't do anything about it. But no, you can do something about it. You can put them in jail.
So, final thought on this. Shadow Wolf says, of course, that they're glossing over it. They want the people to forget that it ever happened. I think what we can do is never let them forget that we know that this story didn't make sense. We know that Epstein didn't kill himself, because we need to let that meme not die, so people know. People know that you have no credibility if you're just trying to gloss over it.
Yeah, the Epstein didn't kill himself meme. I mean, that I don't think that there's been anything in a long time that's got itself embedded into the psyche of like the population at large at every level. I mean, you had the trolls on 4chan all the way up through to like just like your suburban moms, homemakers, whatever. Just every level, like grandma, like grandpa, like anybody at every level of society, every income level, every socioeconomic background, everywhere. Everybody knows the Epstein did not kill himself meme.
Eventually it's going to become eventually ADL is going to say it's a racist neo-Nazi term.
I hope they do. But I think that I think it's so embedded in humanity now that it'll be like one of those things that like after the apocalypse, like there'll be like roving tribes of people who will say, they'll greet each other, say like Epstein didn't kill himself. They won't know what it means or why they're saying it, but it will just stick with us until there are no more humans left alive in the universe. I'll
bet you if we go to one of those uncontacted tribes, like in Africa or something like that,
they probably know.
We go down there, flying in with a helicopter, this evil bird machine that we fly in on, and the first thing they're going to say to us is Epstein didn't kill himself.
a million years from now, super futuristic humanities, they're going to be looking back and they're going to find a cave somewhere, and there's going to be a picture of a little stick guy with a noose around his neck, and it's going to have a big X over it. They're going to be like, this is the first image of Epstein not killing himself. They'll know. The first recorded image of Epstein not killing himself.
Next story.
There's please move on. Alrighty. Oh no, it's another story about something that didn't happen. Smollett and Fox, not me, a different one, are about to get crushed by their own hate crimes. We have a big update to the Jussie Smollett hate crime hoax from a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, coming up on the anniversary of that. As you may remember, the Chicago police had sued disgraced Empire actor Jussie Smollett for the $130,000 they had spent investigating the fake hate crime that never actually happened.
Yes. He paid two of his black friends to smack him around a little bit, put a clothesline over his neck, and throw some bleach from a Tabasco bottle onto him. Thanks to this race-baiting liar, Jussie Smalldick, we have been blessed with this "This is MAGA country" meme, which will likely far outlive his celebrity and his career. The police have indisputable video evidence and testimony from witnesses to prove that Jussie lied. However, Jussie was let off the hook by the state prosecutor, Kim Fox, who settled the case by charging Jussie, only charging him a $10,000 fee without requiring him to accept guilt or for him to be, found guilty.
Which allowed him to walk around saying that he was innocent. And
also allowed him to countersue anyone who was saying otherwise because it wasn't verified that he'd actually done what everyone knows he did.
Obviously, that pissed off a lot of people who saw this as a corrupt double standard. After public backlash, Kim Fox, who had personal connections to Jussie, recused herself from the recused herself from the case, although she didn't really. And the case was moved to another court to be tried. The personal connection to the case was, according to USA Today, that the former aide to Michelle Obama and friend of Kim called her up to ask her to help resolve the Smollett case in his favor. Uh-oh. The update is that Jesse filed a countersuit against the Chicago police, saying that the prosecution against him is causing him economic harm and humiliation and emotional distress. The humanity.
Then again, you could say that any douchebag who publicly makes a fool of themselves by lying to everyone and defrauding the government and defrauding their supporters would be embarrassed, distressed, and would suffer economic harm. You get yourself fired from a job because you piss off your boss. That's your fault. The issue is that this is all his fault, the direct result of his own actions, not to any inappropriate action by the police or any action they've taken. Imagine someone lies to you and takes a bunch of your money, and then when you take them to court to get your money back, they sue you for holding them accountable. That would just be insane. That's what's happening here.
Or it could just be called the double standard for the elite. The new prosecutor, as part of discovery, which is a process where an investigator, the investigating side can request from the whoever they're prosecuting to get some data from them or information from them that like confirms what the theory of the case is. So the new prosecutor performed discovery on Jesse and subpoenaed Google for all of Jesse's data for the last year, which would include not only his Gmail and messages and things like that, but also his search history and his location data. And as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, I hope everybody knows by this point, but if you have an Android phone or even an Apple phone, everybody has some kind of Google software on their phone, and that stuff is continuously pinging your location with the GPS back to Google, and that's how it knows where you work at, where what restaurant you're next to, and where your house is, and all that stuff. And so Google has all that. And if Jesse was walking around Chicago with his phone in his pocket, they're gonna know exactly where he was. And then also, who wants to bet that Jesse was probably searching for stuff related to his hoax hate crime? I would bet
a lot of money on that. Thank you very much, Creeper. Hey, Creeper, for the lemon. The other big update is that Kim Fox, the prosecutor who originally let Jesse off, is now the target of a special investigation into her office's decision to let Smollett off. Miss Fox has lawyered up, hiring a high-priced outside legal help to defend her actions. This outside legal defense is being purchased with taxpayer money. She defended the use of taxpayer funds to cover her legal defenses of something that she did that was, not for the state, by the way, by saying that the high-priced lawyer she hired had only asked for 50% of what he normally charges, which is still way too much.
Yeah, do you know how much that was, Dyer? Did you happen to catch what even 50% was?
Refuse to say how many hours.
There was estimates that because the lawyer that she hired is he's got some fame in the legal community, I guess, and his normal going rate is in like the $700 an hour.
Right,
is what other people said. So even at 50%, it's estimated that they're still paying $300 an hour.
And he refused to see how many hours he was doing. It could be some ungodly number of hours.
Well, yeah, I mean, he could be padding that too. Yeah, good luck living in Chicago. Doesn't this just seem like adding insult to injury, though? You obstruct justice, and then you use the taxpayers' own money to defend yourself, obstructing the justice that they elected you to defend. Hopefully the state doesn't approve these expenditures for Fox, which I think that they did already, or at least the local city reps had
ongoing. They have to approve it.
Okay, that's good. But expenditures, and hopefully that Fox, the bad one, not me, is stuck paying the insane bill. And maybe
they can also
retroactively
go back.
Yes, that would be great too. Let's make her pay that back. Well, I think she should have to. If they can't get the $130 out of Jesse, because she was the one who let him off the hook for paying that, she should have to pay that.
Yes, but you definitely can have, whatever bureaucrat authorized it, they can go back and unauthorize it because it was unlawful for them to do it, right? And then it doesn't matter; she'll have to pay it.
Is
or at least pay back to
Chicago
state.
great? Like so you've got these just Chicago in general, the intense divide between the classes, and similar to California. But you got Jesse, who's up living in his literal high-rise castle, using ungodly amounts of resources that Chicago could otherwise use to be defending people who are getting murdered at a ridiculous rate in Chicago. And he gets his crime that he did gets let off the hook because the city prosecutor's also a criminal, and then she gets kind of let off the hook by being allowed to use taxpayer dollars for a high-powered lawyer because the person above her is okay with her being a crook, and I'm sure whoever's above that's probably fine with it too. I just love Chicago. I'm gonna move there right now.
I'm looking at our ticker right now. It says First World War, a mistake. What?
What's that?
Side note. So it's also been reported, get this, that when she eventually gets called before the special investigation for the grand jury for the special investigation, that she plans on pleading the fifth. So I'm a little suspicious. If everything you did was upright and normal and good, why can't you defend yourself?
Yeah. My company, their corporate is headquartered in Chicago, and I was like, I would never go work at corporate. You could not pay me. There is no amount of dollars in the world.
Maybe if you had a death wish, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, if you just walk around, someone will try to, lynch you and then say this is MAGA country. Apparently, that's going on. I heard on a story once.
Yes, yeah. As we all know, Chicago is just a, it's a pit of MAGA supporters. It's just full of them. You just trip over them every day.
Yeah, there's
all over the
pro-Trump
place.
guys everywhere, and of course, because they're pro-Trump, they're all Nazis, right?
Roving gangs of
roving
MAGA
gangs of
supporters.
Nazis in
Yes.
Chicago. That's legit.
Things that actually happened. Alrighty, ready for next story?
Yep.
Alrighty. Cool. Alrighty, our next story. This one, trigger warning. Being a fat ass could make you and your kid a dumbass. Oh boy. According to a recent study, very recent, published by the University of Columbia University in December, a mother's obesity during pregnancy can negatively affect the mental development of their sons, while daughters appear to be unaffected. The war on boys starts pretty early, apparently, right in the womb.
It's fat mothers that are making their boys
It's the
dumb.
matriarchy.
Jeez Louise. There's layers to that onion that we got to unpack. So researchers studied 368 families from similar socioeconomic backgrounds over 7 years. They monitored the mother's BMI during pregnancy and performed cognitive tests on the children when they were 3 and 7 years old, so they could be compared to the general population.
What they found were that boys whose mothers had an obese BMI during pregnancy were as many as 5 IQ points below their peers. They also had a leg and motor skill development, which would impact things like writing, drawing, dexterity, and general coordination. Having a reduced capacity in these areas at such a young age is likely to affect the child's future, possibly limiting their artistic and athletic potentials.
Being obese during pregnancy won't only affect your son's mental development, it also predisposed them to being overweight themselves. There have been several studies throughout the years that show that this trait can be transferred
Epigenetically.
Thank you. Epigenetically. The two main arguments of the fat acceptance movement are, 1, you can be healthy at any size. That's a lie. And 2, it is a personal choice that only affects them. The first is just flat out wrong and not worth discussing. Obviously, being fat is bad for your health. I did an entire video on it once, actually. There's 52 different diseases that come from being overweight. Anyways, the second is that it is a personal choice. That doesn't affect anyone else. That doesn't make sense at all. This research shows that is also flat out wrong.
These results, being fat during pregnancy can make your son dumb, and that you can pass on to them a predisposition for being overweight, are both very concerning findings on their own. But another study that also came out last month shows that children that are obese during childhood are also likely to have a lowered intelligence and delayed development. This study even found a measurable decrease in brain volume in the areas that control decision making and short-term memory, which I wrote incorrectly there as long-term memory. I think it would be easy to conclude that a child with decreased capacities in short-term memory and decision-making would probably be pretty much predisposed to a lot of behavioral problems like ADHD and acting out and just things like that, which is not... That's just not conducive to having a good childhood or be growing up into a high-functioning adult.
So also being overweight means that your body has a lot more it has to pump blood to, right? Mm-hmm. And your heart doesn't get better at pumping blood just because your body got bigger. So you're stressing your heart out more. And you tend to get heart conditions and then also bad blood flow. So you actually get less blood flow to your brain. And to other cells, and it causes problems for all kinds of cells, but also it can reduce your brain function just because of your heart having trouble pumping oxygen to that much body. Even the blood that's getting to your brain can be less oxygenated because it's having to dump off oxygen throughout the rest of the body. That's so much bigger. It has to feed all those cells that need oxygen. So fat acceptance is dangerous. It isn't that we don't accept them as individual people, but the idea that being overweight or obese is a health decision or one that does not affect anyone else is just false. It has a measurable impact on your own health, and as this research suggests, being overweight can have a measurable impact on your son's ability to achieve his potential and live a long, happy life. So if you love your son, don't be a fatty.
Yes. Or your future son. No, fat, dumb, and stupid is no way to go through life. But yeah, I saw this research last week, and I was like, oh man, that's gonna be triggering. I want to do that one. But yeah, it's that's been something that keeps creeping back up over and over again. It's kind of this fat acceptance movement. I follow a lot of fitness YouTubers, and they talk a lot about this, kind of keep me appraised of what's going on in that area, which is funny because normally I started watching that stuff for just my own personal means of like exercising and seeing like health advice and diet advice and stuff like that, see what other people are doing. And a lot very recently, within the last about 6 months, the fat acceptance movement has really started targeting these fitness YouTubers. And it's been very interesting as I have been watching them start having to talk about what is this new movement that's coming up, talking about SJWs and stuff like that. You've got some of them that I watched, which, have absolutely nothing to do with politics. That's not why I started watching them. And they're sitting there talking about like, people are coming and finding me on Twitter and calling me a Nazi because I said that, you should go work out.
Yeah, I don't get it. It seems completely insane and socially destructive that I see people who are super fat shaming people for being a healthy weight, right?
Yeah.
Shaming them for losing weight when they used to be heavy and then go down to a healthy weight. It seems insane to me that you would want to discourage someone from living a healthier, happier life. That seems like an evil thing to do. Yeah.
So when go ahead.
I'll share this with you. So your skin, it's very elastic. It stretches as you get bigger, but you don't actually get much more skin. It's just the same skin stretched thinner, right? So I was watching this horrible show about like my 600-pound life or something like that, and the person was suffering from a condition that only people who are immensely fat get, where their skin stretches so much that it's so thin that water freely passes through it from the inside out.
Oh my God!
You're losing moisture through your skin by it just dripping out because the skin is so thin. one of the problems with being fat is your skin is the biggest defense you have against disease, stuff in the environment. As your skin gets thinner, it's easier for pathogens and bacteria to get through it, and thus you can get sick more often because you're so fat and your skin's stretched thin.
Yeah. So it's not a good thing for you. I think not that we don't have women in the audience, but I think we have a lot of men in the audience too. As I think are more of our primary demographic.
Lundra Erican is a female.
I do know that, and I do know that they're out there. We have a decent amount of them.
My wife watches.
Sometimes, but it's something to think about. This isn't exactly like an MRA type channel, but I think it was interesting that this research showed that it just didn't really impact daughters. It was really specifically tied to boys, and so the idea that this being obese, especially during a pregnancy or when you expect to become pregnant, that can negatively impact boys. And I just wonder if the decline that we've seen with boys over the last 20 years, I wonder if this has something to do with that. If just five intelligence points, that's not 5 IQ points, that's not a huge swing, but it's a bit. And you multiply that over an entire generation, and talking about having decreased brain volume in the area of short-term memory, which would be concentration, and then executive decision making, which is just making good choices. I mean, that could go a long way to explaining some of what we've been seeing just culturally the last 20 years, and it makes me wonder.
I don't know. I would definitely like some more research in that area. This is not a very good sample size, honestly.
Yeah. It's a start. Well, the sample size that they're comparing it to, though, would be like the general population, which they have really good, especially for like childhood development. They have a tremendous amount of data just on a baseline that you can compare any other study to. So that would be, I don't know. Yeah, I would be curious to see this get some more funding and research, but unless it's figuring out why transgender butterflies are affecting global warming, that's not something that the government's very interested in funding.
If they'd stop spending money on stuff that is like feminist dance theory studies, stuff like that,
well,
I think we could definitely get more research on this category and find out more exactly why, and maybe find some solutions because of it.
Well, I remember it was kind of it was a meme in the fact that it was a true thing that happened, and it was almost like The Onion has a hard time keeping up with like real headlines. There was an actual case of somebody found that the actual U.S. government, one of the research projects that they funded like 2 years ago, was a research project into why overweight lesbians have trouble finding a male partner. And it was like, it was millions of dollars that they spent on that.
Why?
I think that the answers are all rather obvious, but
they're not interested in you and you're not interested in them. That's the answer.
Yes. Well, it took a couple $1 million to figure that out. But I mean, if they were to dump some money into stuff like this, at least get the information out there. I don't know. Alrighty. Well,
what a waste of money and time. So next thing we're going to be going off of YouTube, because I'm sure the stuff we covered in the first part of the show definitely won't get us removed from YouTube. Definitely. We're doing a bad job picking stories to placement.
Maybe we just stop trying.
I know. So guys on YouTube, please come follow us on DLive, because we're shutting off that YouTube so we can have just the DLive Twitch exclusive part of the show. So see you guys there. Goodbye.